So how are you?
Yeah,
Good.
pretty good. Yeah. It's always a hard question to answer if I take it literal. Yeah. It's David, my balancer.
Hello.
So this is a good opportunity, I think. Let's see how awake Bianca is and finish the job for her.
Can you repeat? I didn't understand.
It was a funny one. I said, well, given the opportunity that there's just you and me and Bianca here, I said, let's see how awake she is and finish the job for her. I expected a laugh. Yeah. Mm. It appears to me, Bianca, that you're quite a different person now to what you used to be when I first got to know you. Well, when I first met you. But I don't know the details of that and how it is. Are you aware of a change that's happened for you?
Mm. Not really,
Okay.
because my first reaction was surprise.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It may be just be wishful thinking on my part, and my perception fools me. Who knows? Yeah. So are you clear that there is no actual self there running the show? Even though I know from time to time it may feel like or seem like there is a self. So those two things can live together. You can seem like there's a self, but yet you know there isn't. But it depends. What's your take on that?
Yes. Well, I have started with Red with the title "Stuck on the Witness," and I think it's still like that.
Yeah.
So there is no self running the show, but there is a self watching the show.
Yes. Okay. And you come to the conclusion that there is a self watching the show as a result of logic, or is that self that is watching the show something you experience?
Mm. It is an experience as this detached part.
Mm.
And I don't know, this feeling of playing a game and not being able to log out.
Log out, right? Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a certain another way to test it out. When I ask you, that sounds a bit like somebody is trapped in the matrix
Mhm.
game of being a self.
Or Clockwork Orange
Yes. Yeah.
with watching the film.
Yeah. 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 Definitely a captive, a helpless observation.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I can, to me, see, I can easily see that there can be that observation, however, whatever kind it is, but as you describe it, I can see that that observation can exist, but I don't draw the conclusion that it is a self that is doing that. But you do. Is that correct?
It feels like it. Mhm.
Mm. And that when you say it feels like it, you're indicating that there are sensations that um, validate the idea that it's a self. I'm saying the idea that it's a self gets validation from the sensation, from the feeling.
Mhm.
Or is it more than an idea of a self? And what's the relationship with the feeling then?
Yes. I'm going into my mind because
Yes. Yeah.
I know intellectually it doesn't hold.
Mm-hmm.
If it is a sensation, then who's watching the sensation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh, and if the body feels being watched, then you can't make a conclusion that there is a self
There is
that's
something
watching
watching.
the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
So it doesn't hold, but still it
yes,
feels
I
like
get it. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
self. Mhm.
So what it appears to me is happening is that that the idea that if something is seen, there has to be somebody seeing it or something seeing it seems to be one that's kind of locked in for you. You
Mhm.
can't accept that seeing can exist without a seer. Right. So if you were to have an experience of seeing that did not include a seer other than as a mental conclusion, would that change things for you?
Hmm. I think I talked to you about this experience when I was 4 years old, and um, I was on a bus, and I was seeing everything around, but I completely forgot about Bianka being there.
Yes,
There,
about
there
doing.
was no awareness of my body of mind,
Mhm.
just awareness of everything around. And uh, and somehow it's it
Sorry. Would you go on, David? I'll just get this phone call.
it makes me believe in in myself more, because there was no body, no mind, but I was still there seeing.
Is the difference from then, from now? What has changed?
Now I am aware of body and mind.
What's the problem with the body and the mind?
There is no problem. It's just the Vince asked me about if I experience seeing without self, but it doesn't seem possible to me. The experience I described was the closest I can imagine to it.
So you were simply answering the question of Vince.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what comes to mind for me is a question that is a distinct memory for you of what happened when you were that age on the bus. And what you said was what is different now is that there is more of an awareness of the body and mind. Is that accurate?
Yes,
That's
from
yeah,
that
difference
experience.
between now and then, yeah. And that awareness of body and mind exists as stories about body and mind or something other.
As stories, sensations.
How are the sensations linked to it?
Linked to
This awareness of body and mind. Well, I put it to you that the glue that sticks sensations to that idea of body and mind are thoughts, more stories. That's the glue.
mm-hmm.
Mhm. So it's important for you. I'm asking, it's important. Is it important for you to maintain the aristocracy of mind at a fairly high level?
That is a complicated question.
Yes.
Important for what?
Yes, I guess what I'm wanting to know is are you going to defend that? Is it in your nature to defend the value of thinking, of mind, of that part of you? Because it seems to me that you are giving that part of your being a lot of value, and in my mind, it doesn't deserve that value, but you are giving it that value. So I'm wondering whether or not, right, like, so a lot of people would get self-esteem from the ability of their mind to do complicated maths, for example. Others would get self-esteem because of their mind's ability to do all sorts of things, right? So a scientist would never devalue the value of mind because they use that mind to arrive at the conclusions as part of their identification. I'm wondering if it is also part of your identification, that your intelligent mind is very important to you, and so consequently you're not prepared to downgrade its value. That's a big story on my part. You know, I know you'll reject whatever doesn't fit. No worries.
Yes, the funny thing is, I think I'm intelligent enough to be able to downgrade my intelligence.
You got plenty of room to move. I like that.
You know, like wise people know they are stupid.
Yes.
The stupid people don't know they are stupid.
True. We have lots of examples of that, don't we? Yes. Yeah. And it's not actually a downgrade, it's just a reclassification too. So the mind is still very useful, still incredibly useful for lots of things, just not for discerning reality. That's where it gets it wrong because of our conditioning so much. Yeah. But how do we get you to see that, to experience that? That's the trick. That's what we need to do. We need to get you to experience it. And then, of course, that the trick then is that as an experience, you'll go, well, actually, I haven't got feelings validating the thought anymore. What I've got is the opposite. What I've got is a downgrading of the credibility of feelings to validate thought. So we're going to downgrade feelings when we do this as well. But at the moment, it's a trick, see, because it's the sensation that validates the idea of a me. You know, so they've got the sensation giving credibility to an idea. And yet what we need to do is reduce the value of the idea by reducing the value of the feeling, which kind of leaves us in a bit of a limbo state. That's an interesting one, then. So you can see quite clearly that things happen hundreds of times every day for that body of yours that you're not even primarily aware of. You could be aware of it under different circumstances, but you're not, because it happens automatically. You know, you don't think about where to put your feet when you walk. You just walk. You don't even think about walking. You just want to get from here to there. So the idea of being over there happens and walking happens. You don't use mind to do that, do you? Well, you think you do you? Yeah.
No, there is this focused consciousness,
Yes.
and there is peripheral conscious. I don't know how it is called, but
Yeah, we can imply that there are unconscious controls going on, but we don't know about that. That's only a conjecture, isn't it? What we do know is that it happens. You end up on the other side of the room and walking happened and you didn't think about it. You didn't need to plan it. There was no consciousness involved. There was just It possibly wasn't even walking, because walking wasn't noticed, it didn't exist. There is you on this side of the room, then there is you on the other side of the room, and you can presume that you walked across. But maybe you didn't, maybe you went to sleep and flew across, who knows? You don't have any idea of it. Now, if you can use memory, and maybe that memory will remember the actual walking, or maybe it will make it up. It will construct the idea that, oh, I must have walked from the story about getting there. But you can see what actually happened. We don't know. Well, logically, it's pretty clear what might have happened, but that's the story. So whether you're walking or washing your hands or washing the dishes or making the bed or getting up out of bed or whatever happens, you know, most of the time, hundreds of times every day, we do that with no awareness, no consciousness, no focus. It just happens.
Yes, body and mind can work without any awareness whatsoever.
Yes. So why does there need to be a self to run the show?
There is no self running the show.
Okay. But it feels
There
like
is a self watching the show.
Ah, okay. You can't photograph that self, can you?
No.
There's actually no tangible evidence whatsoever for that self, is there?
No.
But there is a belief that there's a self watching the show. So let's say we feel really sure that there is a self watching the show. That belief is a strong belief that somebody is something, that there is watching the show. And we call that a self that is watching the show. When it's not watching the show, that is when you walk across the room and don't realize you've done it, it's not involved at all, is it?
It was usually watching the thoughts.
It was busy watching the thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah. So if the stuff happens while it's busy doing one thing and that other stuff happens, it's easy to see that it's not required for that other stuff to happen.
Yes.
So even when it is watching, it's not watching out of requirement, it's just watching. We don't know why, eh? I don't know where to go. Is there a reason? Do you have an idea of a reason why there is watching? Is there a reason for that to happen?
It seems nonsense. Sometimes I have a feeling that there was an error made,
Hmm.
a mistake in the program.
Okay, so that would be the reason why the watching is happening, because of
Yes.
mistake. Yeah. Yeah. And do you respond to being watched, to that watching? It's not you being watched, is it? It's just watching happening, eh?
The body and mind responds, feels being watched.
Right. And does body
And
respond to that being watched?
sometimes it can get anxious. Mm.
Anxious in what way? Like anxious as in a, well, what do you think? What's the anxiety about?
I was noticing it in meditation. When there is much attention on the body. And I feel like I get cold and I have shivers. And right after the shivers, I start yawning.
Hmm. Hmm. And what do you see that yawning is telling you?
That I was, I must have been breathing too shallow. And maybe this is why I am getting cold.
Hmm. Hmm. And the breathing too shallow just comes from meditating, not for any other reason.
When it happens in meditation, I see no other reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. So let's say, well, let me ask you, that watcher, that observer of all things Bianca, that observer is do you identify with that observer? Or is it just something happening just like you're breathing or you're feeling the breeze on your skin or smelling whatever's going on? Is it just like that? Or is it something that you identify with? You feel that is you?
I identify.
Mm, mm. Okay. Can you imagine, can you create the fantasy that that identification is broken and that still allowing that to exist and be what it is in experience without the idea that it is you? So, okay, it's like you discover that something that you thought was part of you is actually not. It's like the clothes you put on or your glasses or whatever, and it's just an additional thing to you. It's not actually you. So could you construct a fantasy that that is the case? And if you can get into that little fantasy, what would be different for you when that exists as it is now, but it's not you? It's just something that happens.
Yes, it was the thought that awareness is just another sense,
Another what?
another sense.
Sense. Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah. Mm. So you can do that fairly easily.
No, it is a thought,
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, of course it is.
uh,
Yeah.
but then the feeling still comes back. But I feel myself.
Yes, 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 yeah.
Mm.
This might sound like a really stupid statement, but it's obvious to me that yes, that will continue until it doesn't.
Mm.
But for you, the until it doesn't part isn't really there, eh? You just say it will continue, full stop. Hmm. It's speculation, of course, isn't it, at the moment? But how do I know? Why would I make a statement like that? How do I know that until it doesn't has some reality? And that's my experience personally, and it's my third party experience with lots of people that I've worked with. So I know that very frequently, exactly what you're describing, not in the same words, but you're describing that sense of a self, and other people have it and then lose it. It drops. So that's where I get my, I don't know, whatever it is, authority to speak like I know something. It's, of course, it's all a joke, knowing something, but there you go. Yeah. But for you, is it correct to say for you there is no until it doesn't?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. All right. Yeah. It's tricky stuff, isn't it? We're using the mind to debunk the mind, and then we give all this authority to sensations, and then we take it all away again. And then we go back to the mind being okay. No need to debunk it when we've got it a little bit under control. Not under control, but you know what I mean. Yeah. 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 It's all about seeds. Mm. So, Ramesh, what would you tell Bianca about this persistent sense of a watcher that she identifies with? What's the first thing that comes to mind? I'm not asking for anything authoritative, just
The first question that comes to me is that what if I'm identifying with the wrong thing? Maybe you are your hand.
I haven't understand.
Like in
Understand.
your experience, there is a watcher and there is things. What if the watcher is the wrong identifying object? Maybe you are your hand and the watcher is just there. I know it's a silly thing, but
yeah. Well, it's silly and it's not silly. It's not silly because, I mean, what's the difference between the hand and the watcher? They're both concepts, aren't they? And the one has some physicality and the other one doesn't, or at least doesn't appear to. But yeah. But that brings me to have you ever seen the rubber hand illusion on YouTube? Go to YouTube and look up the rubber hand illusion. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. You'll see how we can identify with a rubber hand, even though we know it's a rubber hand. We still identify with it. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Well worth a look. The rubber hand illusion, I think it's called. Yeah. Yeah. So it seems, Bianca, like a silly question if Ramesh asks you, what's the difference between the watcher being identified with the watcher or being identified with the hand?
Yes, the difference is uh, there is a hand and I am, there is no hand and I still am with the watcher. If there is watching, I am. If there is no watching, I am not.
Oh, okay. There's something there. Yes, I get it. So you can't let go of the watcher, otherwise you disappear. Okay. Yeah.
you're muted, Bianca.
You're still muted. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mm.
Um, the only time when there was no watching was under general anesthesia.
How do you know?
And
Maybe you just
then there was no me.
no, maybe there was just no memory of that. There was certainly no real-time awareness. Yes.
Is there a difference between personal awareness and impersonal awareness? It it feels for in my experience there is a knowing of the experience like from the outside,
I guess for me there is only one way. I can't imagine another.
Like a meta awareness, like there's me watching the phone and there's the knowing of me watching the phone.
So the first one, there is you watching the phone, could be, not necessarily, but it could be just a description of what appears to be happening. There is you with eyes focused on the phone in front of you. And so that's a description of activity. But to be able to
Get that. Could you try again?
to be able to describe that, we bring in a mental overlay on the act of watching the phone that describes it. So we can call that mental overlay a description of what is happening. But also for that description to happen, there has to be something that we call awareness when we are able to describe the act of watching the phone. But then there's another one again that says, I am aware that I am aware of watching the phone. That's what I would call the metacognition, the idea that there is somebody who isn't really that interested in watching the details of what you're watching. All they're interested in is the fact that you are watching, that there is watching happening. So that's the awareness of the watching of the phone. And I mean, the mind is absolutely amazing, the things that it can do. It can, wow, it's so creative. But then none of that still for me is any proof that it can only be conjecture, that there is something that I am able to identify with in that process. It just seems very clear that all I'm describing is happening.
I would describe it like that the watcher, me, can't see itself, but can't
see itself. Yes, okay.
Can't.
Yeah.
But the mind functions like a mirror.
Yes.
So the watcher can see the reflection, a distorted reflection, most probably. And the mind creates, or is made, I don't know, of mirrors. So it's like standing between two mirrors, and you can see this infinite, yes, me watching me, watching me, watching me. But it comes back to the one standing between these mirrors.
So we can look at that and say, my experience is an infinite number of images of me as a result of standing between those two mirrors. Or I can say, my experience is my logical thinking process that says there's one me and two mirrors, and that the images that I am experiencing are an illusion. And that's entirely mind created, isn't it? That part. My actual experience is of an infinite number of images of me. Only by mind can I reduce it back to two mirrors and me. Unless I step outside of between the two mirrors and look at them from the side and remember that there was a me in the middle, somehow by doing that, I can maybe experience the fact that I've only two mirrors. But while I'm standing in between them, my experience is only of an infinite number of me or of images of me.
What's the distinction between being outside and being in front of the mirror?
Well, that's the different experience. So if I'm in between the mirror, my experience is of an infinite number of images. So while I'm there, standing between the two mirrors, I can't say that I can experience reality. I'm only experiencing what I'm experiencing. Well, I am experiencing reality. The reality is, of course, those images that are repeated in all of the mirrors back and forward, back and forward. So when I step outside, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the setup, so to speak. So my experience is of two mirrors facing each other, but because I'm not in the middle of them, I don't have those images of me to see. So I can only put myself back in between them mentally. And then I can go, yes, my experience now is two mirrors with a me in the middle, even though the me is imagined. But while I'm
How is
standing,
that?
sorry?
How is that just another mirror? What if this is just another mirror?
I'm not with you. What is just another mirror?
Like experiencing being outside the mirror to be just another mirror.
Oh, well, it could be, yes. No, I was just trying to bring into the possibility of experience that is closer to the reality than what the experience is when I'm standing in between the two mirrors. So experience is what comes into my senses. So when I'm at the magic show and the magician's up on stage cutting a woman in half, my experience is of a woman being cut in half. Even though I know it's not true, that's my experience. That's what my senses tell me. So the conclusion is that my senses can lie to me. My senses telling me that there is all these images that well, no, it's not a lie, because my experience is an infinite number of images in an infinite number of mirrors. That's my experience. But I know there's not an infinite number of me and there's not an infinite number of mirrors. There is just two mirrors. So what I'm saying is my senses are fooling me. My senses tell me one thing that I know is not true. But I can only know it's not true mentally. My experience is that it is true. And I bring this same thing to this idea of a self and of a self-watching. Right? That is the experience, but it's a lie. It's not reflecting what is actual. It's reflecting the illusion that the mirrors create or the magician on stage creates. But how
In
do
my
we?
experience
Yeah, go on.
is this stepping outside is like the thoughts or the content of awareness becomes not sticky.
Mm.
So a thought of me being hitting something being the one that hates is becoming identified with the thought and just moving with it. And the different experience or different awareness is to be aware that there is an experience of hatred, for example, towards something.
Mhm.
And to have to become just another thing that is moving in the experience.
Yes, yes. That happens pretty automatically when you become aware that you're just aware of that. It's like you step outside of it and it ceases to be sticky. As you say, that's, you know, the hooks aren't so strong when you're outside of it. But if you're inside it and if you're expressing the flavor of being aware of what it is, then you're lost in it. You become it.
I think also like being in the body becomes like it's like it's facilitate that to happen actually somehow.
Yeah, it's all pretty amazing, isn't it? Mm.
It's like I'm taking the position in the body and looking at the mind somehow.
Mm.
It's and I feel like this strong pull of the mind is like habit because it feels so much overwhelming in the body.
Yeah. It's been big. It's been absolutely huge in our life. Now we're asked to take a back seat. Sorry.
I would say that for me, it's not stepping outside of the mirrors, because in mind there are only mirrors reflecting me or reflecting
Yeah.
surrounding,
Yeah.
just mirrors. It's like it's more closing my eyes. And then I feel myself.
So do I get you right? When you close your eyes, it's like you stop the reflections in the mirror and you come back to just you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's more of an imagination.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's,
So that's also like,
I can't just close my mind's eyes.
yeah. So in a way that closing your eyes stops the illusion of infinite number of mirrors. It also stops the illusion of being watched. Right. That's interesting, isn't it? You brought up something recently that I thought was brilliant. And I've thought about it a lot since, that this recursive nature that we of ourself. Yeah, that's really quite phenomenal. How we so automatically watch ourselves and draw conclusions from what we see. Mm. Yeah.
I was wondering, I mean, if we have this image of somebody watching himself in the mirror, and then you can step out and watch this person watching himself in the mirror, but then you could also infinitely step out of that again. And I mean,
Yes.
yeah. And yeah, probably it's like it has to do with this era of yeah, the split into subject and object, right? I mean, and I recently read a comparison that I found really nice, and it was like, if the observer search for himself, so to say, it's like telling the theft to be the policeman.
Mm. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like that though. Yes, I agree. You know, it's easy that we easily fool ourselves, yes. But we also have the ability to be honest with ourselves, which is really, really strange one when you think about it. We can allow ourselves to be authentic and honest, or we can be in denial. You know, it's like, wow, and everything in between those two. That's where intuition comes in, I think. If we consult our intuition with a with a certain attitude, with that attitude of honesty and authenticity, our intuition will tell us every time whether we're fooling ourselves or not. But yes, it's a trick, isn't it? And
But then
how we can,
also, I think, there are a lot of moments during the day where you don't observe yourself.
yes,
Just, it's like not the moments you remember most, because
or go even further, you don't remember them at all simply because you weren't observing. You have to be observing in order to remember. Maybe. I think.
Anyway, if you were observing all the time, probably you would get crazy, right? I mean, that's why we sleep as well, and don't have any record of what is happening.
Mm. Yes. Yes, it would. We can make a story about how exhausted we would be, and how far we would get every day if we were totally conscious about everything that we did. So I don't have any memory of walking to this car, although I can construct a little bit. But essentially, if I was to fill my mind with those kind of memories, it would be exhausting. Why do I need to do that? I don't. In fact, I don't need to remember anything unless it's required to be remembered for some future possible use.
Yeah, and then someone with Alzheimer's, for example, I mean, maybe he doesn't remember who he is, but he will still experience something, right?
Yeah. That's really interesting stuff too. Until, and you know, it seems like in the beginning of Alzheimer's, that can be quite a conflict arousing situation where they recognize that they're losing their memory and so on. But once it's completely gone, there's no more conflict. Maybe. In my mother, there wasn't. She was very much at peace with total Alzheimer's. Had no idea who I was, but really enjoyed the fact that I could sit next to her and hold her hand. Yeah. But it's all speculation, of course. We don't have any idea what really goes on for them. Yeah. There seems to be a bit of a key pivot point where a lot of people have a fear of something that makes it difficult for them to let go of the idea that there is somebody to identify with or something to identify with. Because if maybe they feel like they're killing something, and that there's of course that's always a bad thing. There's grief then. And of course maybe there is grief if they feel like they're letting go of something. But on the other hand, for me, it was just such a freedom thing that I no longer had to worry about the incompetent Vince that was trying to run the show.
These few days, my grandma she's struggling with pain in her leg. She can't move. She can't. She's in so much pain, and she's complaining all the time how painful it is, and saying wishes that God take her because she's in so much pain. And she asked me like what she's supposed to do, and I said I don't know. And uh, yesterday I just sat with her all night, and I was watching my mind tries to make a story or complain about what's happening. Wanting to comfort her somehow.
So let me put this one to you. It's purely a fantasy. Okay, let's say that whatever is going on with her might be something that's going to kill her. And you knew that. You knew that she only has a limited period of time left before she actually dies. But yet appears like she's going to stay in this horrible pain for the whole time. Now, once you get past that part of your mind that is desperate to fix things for her and to change the outcome, once you get past that, the mind starts to get more wisdom turns up.
I wasn't trying. I felt the hopelessness of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually made me like it's like facing this like the mind when the mind perceive even if at the tiniest possibility to make a change of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
it will pursue that goal. But when there isn't, it just stops. And I'm just left with this, what's happening in the body, in the experience. And the strange thing about this that I'm not sure if I could actually do that like a year ago.
Mm, mm. That's big. Yeah, that's big. So let me finish my fantasy, what that I started before about that you're sitting with her with this knowledge that it's going to kill her. She's going to die from it. And this is purely fantasy, of course, that you're sitting there with that, and you've already got to the stage where you're not trying to fix anything anymore. You know that it's like it's an inevitable situation that you can't fix. So the mind stops hunting for that. It stops this chaotic running around looking for an answer that doesn't exist. What happens to the mind then? I'm telling you that what the mind will do at that point is it will calm down, and you will adopt a much wider perspective. You will have wisdom. And in that wisdom, there may be silence, may be the appropriate thing, or maybe not. Maybe there are other things that can happen. I know, for example, as a result of a period of my life where I was a hypnotherapist, professionally a hypnotherapist, that there are things that you can do to, I don't know how to put the right word, not relax, but there are things to do that could happen that may result in a change for her. Not necessarily in a change of the experience of the pain, but something that you might change the suffering component of that, where all she is fixated on is getting rid of the pain, which adds to the pain considerably. So the first thing that I would do myself, and this is all just a big fantasy, first thing I would do was sitting on the bed beside her, is I would synchronize my breathing with her breathing. So as she breathed out, I would breathe out. As she breathed in, I would breathe in. Synchronize that for at least 5 minutes, right? And while I'm doing that, I would be holding her hand. There would be a physical contact while that is happening. And when I feel that our breathing is synced together, I would start slowing down my breathing very imperceptibly, just a little bit, by making my out breath longer than my in breath. And I would do that just tiny bit each breath, and watch and see if her breathing doesn't follow my breathing at that point. And if it does, I can do it even more. I can make that out breath longer, the in breath shorter, and the whole pace of it slower. And by this stage, she's feeling something different. I don't know what, but not what she was feeling before. And of course, I would be watching my own thoughts and feelings as I was doing that, but very, very eagle eye on her breathing. I can't explain what that does. There's a connection happens. There's all sorts of possibilities happen, but it would be something. That's all, just something. That's the idea. So what I would like for her in this fantasy that she might die without that pain changing, that pain level changing, is I would love to see that she comes to terms with what's happening. And she would come to terms with it if that happened. She wouldn't be any happier about it. It would still be painful, but she would be like out, she would have stepped outside of the pain and be watching the pain rather than living it out. Who knows if that will work for you? Maybe, maybe not. Let's see what happens, eh?
Question. It is noisy right now. Can you hear a lot of noise?
Yeah, I can hear a background voice, but it's not disturbing.
Ah, okay.
If you get to the point where you've been doing that for 10 minutes, Ramiz, you can run a little test, which is to have a big sigh yourself and just watch whether or not she follows. And if she does that, you know that you've synced up beautifully. You can't imagine how much comfort she gets just from having you sitting next to her and holding her hand. Can't imagine that. Can't get your mind around what that does, even though she might still be complaining about the pain. What we want to do is help her to not suffer, not put what's on top of the pain, make that a big deal. And that idea that we want it to end is suffering. So do you feel, Ramiz, that you are suffering much as a result of her pain and discomfort? Of your inability to fix things for her? You're muted.
Sorry, I was speaking to my mom.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So your mum's there, so there's also her suffering as a result of this, eh?
Sometimes I catch my mind tries to be the victim, or feel hopeless. when I feel it's not suffering.
Did you say what you feel is not suffering?
The feeling is not suffering. When when there isn't an overlay of what should happen.
Now, there's a rather interesting thing that happens, I suspect, in most societies, most cultures, but I don't know, that we need to show our concern for certain situations by suffering. And if we don't suffer when that's going on around us, we're taken to be unconcerned and therefore unloving, which of course isn't true. But that's the way people will interpret our lack of emotionality.
She told me that um, she usually would cry a lot when she's in pain, but she doesn't do that. She suppresses her crying because she doesn't want to upset us.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to tell her that's okay, but I didn't say anything. I just listened to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a big one, isn't it?
And I can see also like my mom or my aunts, they try to not deliberately, but suppressing her sadness because they don't want her to be feeling sad.
Mm. It would be true to say, I imagine, it would be true to say that they don't want her to suffer, but also true to say that her suffering causes them to suffer. That's the way they might see it. So if she didn't suffer, they wouldn't feel so bad. Because obviously her suffering triggers something for them that they don't want to know about. But at the same time, they genuinely don't want her to suffer. That's another story, though. You know?
Yeah, I feel like I'm feeling what they don't want to feel.
Mm, mm. Yeah, exactly.
And I can see why they're running. It's so heavy. It's so so I actually sometimes feel the urge to tell her in some way or another to just don't be sad, or because I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel like I can help you. So why don't you just stop being sad?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember like when I was 21, my dad got very ill, and it was like a process of 6 months or something between the diagnosis and his death. So I was with him most of the time. And it was, yeah, communication was really difficult because, yeah, also he was not really the type who would speak openly about his emotions or thoughts. But then I guess it's also, I mean, for example, at one point he was not interested anymore in my life or my university stuff or things like that, because he was already loosening the bonds to this world or his family in order to be able to leave, you know? So, and then also I remember I felt like clearing up our relationship and talking this kind of things, but I had to understand that it was not about me and my desires or my expectations, but like that somebody, I mean, it's really difficult to really be in this situation to know that I will have like some more months and then I'll leave. And then also there was even like a period when he would be very angry with us, because I guess it's like, yeah, you can tell me anything, but you will go on living and I have to die. So what the fuck are you telling me? You know, I mean, it's not the same situation in which we are talking with each other. So I didn't even try to comfort him because I felt, I mean, all what I could say would be like super ridiculous because I'm going on with my life and he won't. And then in the end, also, he was very weak and not being able to speak anymore. So actually what I did was pretty much the same. Yeah, I didn't really know about this technique, but I also just lay down next to him, holding his hand. Sometimes I dozed off, but I also think that our organisms were kind of synchronized. And I must say that, yeah, I wouldn't say I had like a very good relationship with my dad, but this was like the only way of being close to him. And I think I really made my peace with him as well without talking all the stuff that I in the beginning would have liked to talk with him. And I was also there in the moment when he died, and I must say that I experienced it rather as something, yeah, I really in this moment, because he suffered a lot, he was in pain the last days, I could really see how he was fighting with his breath, like to and then the moment he died, it was like the moment of relaxation. It was like the last breath, and he knew that all his family was around him, and that I remember my mom holding him and saying, "Don't worry, I will take care of the children," and so on. I mean, of course, it was like very sad, this moment, but also when I witnessed this moment of him, yeah, relaxing and like expulsing his last breath, then it was rather like I was happy for him, because I could see it was really like a work he was doing, right? And yeah, so I don't know if this can contribute anything to the situation with your grandma, but I didn't experience the death itself as something bad. Maybe all the process before was like super hard because my dad also tried everything that he could do. I mean, we were told that it was a kind of cancer that couldn't be cured. And then he went to this kind of university hospital where they were experimenting with new methods, and this made like this tumor not grow so quickly, but in the end there were a lot of chemotherapies, and physically I think this meant like even more suffering for him. So yeah, but it's also maybe human to have the will to survive. But like I would say this whole process with accepting was maybe more difficult than leaving this life.
Of course, we're not saying for a moment that Ramez's grandmother is going to die with this. I mean, that I don't know the history or anything about that. What I was attempting to convey was the idea that your mind can relax, your mind can widen its perspective, and what will arise will be wise, much wiser than when we're focused on trauma and wanting to fix things, and that wisdom allows other possibilities in. And one of the things that you said that was really important, Lennart, was that wordless connection can be incredibly powerful, and lots of healing can take place in that. We don't need to analyze it into health. Just that connection can do it. Yeah. But when we're calm, not out of any effort, but calm because we have relaxed, let go, whatever, we're in the flow, however you want to describe it. When we're calm like that, it is contagious. Other people will pick up on that.
Is it possible that being with her, having all these heavy feelings, like make her suffer even more?
No, you can see for a start how she's suppressing her natural instinct to cry because of her concerns for you. Now that will continue. She does not want to spread suffering to you. She wants something good for you, just as you want something good for her. So when you are calm, she will relax into the knowing that she's not adding to your suffering by her suffering. Again, this is my own fantasy, but that's what I imagine will happen, that she will feel good about the fact that she's not spreading, her suffering is not contagious to you. You will talk to her in a calm way. You will feel calm. You will breathe calm. Your hand will be relaxed as it holds hers. And all that will have an effect on her.
I think also that honesty is the most important. That if you feel sadness and desperation, well, don't pretend that they are not there.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
You know, because we there is two things. First, to be honest, you know, if it's difficult for you, well, sharing it can be a gift because she feels everything anyway.
Mm.
So if you open up, you give her the opportunity to open up herself also, if she wants to. And the other thing is all of this story about contagion and that you feel emotion of others. I don't think that it is worth thinking is very useful, because I think it's more useful to really be aware that every emotion you feel, the emotions is inside you, and it's your responsibility, and no one else can make you feel anything. So in that way, without saying anything, you can free everyone in your relationship of the hook of your emotions. That also means that you free everyone to feel whatever they feel without you reacting to it.
Yeah, and also I think this urge that most people have to fix things. I mean, maybe from my side, but also from the side of the person that is suffering. That's really an obstacle. I mean,
Yeah, because fixing, you know, coming in relationship with someone with still intention of fixing. I mean, people who do that to me, I can feel it straight away, and it's not comfortable. I'm okay with that, but it's very uncomfortable, because who are you to judge my life and to say that I have something to fix? And even if there is something to fix, what arrogance you have to pretend that you can do it. You know, so in both cases, this is none of your business. So be with me, listen to me if you are able to, and otherwise let's just enjoy the present moment.
and maybe it's also egoistic, no? Because the person doesn't want to be in this uncomfortable situation of being with someone who is in a difficult situation that is not fixed.
Well, often the the contract between people, it's you make me happy or you go away. This is the basic contract within every relationship. And we hate our family because the contract is you are there whatever happens. So I don't like that. but you know, relationships are not there to make you happy. People in your life are not there to make you happy, and they are not there to make you miserable either. So I think there is great freedom in being honest with what I feel, with a strong awareness that the other is not responsible of my feeling, but I cannot impede myself to feel whatever I feel. And if the other react to it, but that's not my problem either. I'm just trying to be honest, and you know, that's it.
I don't
And you
think
know,
go on. I'm lost.
you know, I have chronic pain, but I'm sure that is not as bad as what Ramiz is sharing. But I have chronic pain, and you know, I think people who have never experienced chronic pain, you know, they kind of get advice, they do this, you have to try this, have you did that, and at some point it's very annoying. You know, I'm just telling you how I am when I feel pain. It doesn't feel nice, and there's nothing. That's okay. You know, I'm just sharing what's happening for me. You don't have, you know, to get agitated to find solution. You know, that just this is how it is.
I don't feel like it's my choice not to show how I feel with her. Um, just it's not happening. That the expressions doesn't come naturally.
That's perfect. I'm not saying that you have to say something. I say you have to be honest. So if honestly there's not this impulse, well, it's not there. It's fine.
It's not like I'm hiding how I feel. Like
Have you been surprised at all about what you felt? Have you felt something that kind of raised your eyebrows in wonder?
no, I felt maybe as if I see her as a child, as a baby. And I saw myself also as a baby, feeling helpless with her, like there's no adults here.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Uh, what does being an adult mean? I don't know.
Exactly. Mm.
There is a lot of beauty in expressing what I am living in the moment. And it somehow, strangely, it's often the most difficult thing to do, to just simply share the emotion I'm having in the moment, the mood I am in. It's the most simple thing, right? You just feel what is happening and you can share with someone. It's kind of, theoretically, it's really easy. But in practice, it's
Mm.
often it's not that easy, because that's where you see the fear of losing the other, fear of the consequences, fear of whatever, you know. And I don't know what is an adult, but I know that I have to learn I have to learn this lesson by myself. And I would have appreciated if I could have grown up around people who would teach me this by doing it. So it doesn't feel like I had to learn something. It would have, I would like that honesty and simplicity would have just be normal, that I wouldn't even think about, you know, reading about this, you know, just like, yeah, of course, you know, just you are imperfect as a human and just travel in the dark and you are bumping everywhere and it's uncomfortable. So you can share it with people. Why not? Because everyone's bumping everywhere. So if you bump into someone, it can be nice, you know, to to share the desperation. Yeah.
I feel like the natural impulse of the body is to be sincere about how it feels. That if it senses that it's possible, it will express itself. Or if it felt there is a space for it.
Yeah.
And I think it just happens at some energetic level. It just, you feel the person is open, so you open with this person. You feel the person is closed and you close with the person. It's just, it's not like a choice that I will be honest, whatever, everywhere with everyone.
But no, I'm not saying the most important is being honest with yourself. So you can lie to someone and be honest with yourself that, okay, I wanted something else, I feel something else, but I feel too much uncomfortable, I'm too much in fear, or I want something of the other, and I lie to get that. But I'm not lying to myself. So that's, I think it's okay. At least you are aware of of your experience as it is in the moment. And I think you are right. The best way to approach relationship is not so much with people, but more with like a field, like you're in a pool, right? You know, like water, you know, like it, when you jump into the pool, there are ripples everywhere, and the ripples goes everywhere. So when you are in a space, you are in a field, and everything within this field is moving around everywhere. It's one way of perceiving it. I think it's with this kind of topic, we shift kind of fast in kind of therapy, which is fine, but it's a very different approach. Because after there is way like you can say that what you feel is of the other, you know, or it comes from you, and all of this kind of stuff, but very fast it gets very messy. I think the most practical way is to say everything you feel, it's your responsibility, it's your emotion, is in your experience, so that's it. But and the answer you will have, the inner answer and the outer answer, like you say, will be automatic. if you feel too much uncomfortable in a field, maybe you will just feel like you will literally have to stand up and leave, or stand up and fight, you know, or give a hug, or try to have intercourse or whatever, you know, because the body will naturally express the need of the moment.
The physical intimacy is something I feel I'm struggling with. Like I would feel the impulse to hug her, but it is something is not we're not used to this kind of physical intimacy, so I find it hard to do that.
You see, this is honesty already. You are feeling an impulse of the body, and you are feeling, oh, there is some kind of family pattern, right? And things that you do, things you don't do. So you are aware of both of them. Have you shared this with her?
No, but sometimes I just put my hand on her shoulder.
Why
I
don't
would
you
help
share
her
with
to.
her? What did you tell her? I will have an impulse to hug you. At the same time, I feel uncomfortable because we don't really do that in our family. Feel comfortable. It's saying it out loud is too much already.
Haven't thought about it,
You just did.
but yeah, it feels tough. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but things can change in our family. You know, with my father, we never say I love you to each other ever. The first time he said I love you to me was when I have, I don't know, 25, 27. And he did that after I started to say often I love him, I love you to him, you know. But even for me, it was so strange at the beginning. I was like, oh, I don't really feel like it's true, you know, like feel like horrible. But no, I was getting used to it. And after a year or two, one day he was just saying to me, you know, I love you. Oh, nice, okay. But by that time it didn't mean anything. But but the process was I needed to say it, right? So maybe I'm not sharing this because often we think that the family dynamic can't change, so we don't do anything. But you know, if you start to try at least to do and to express what feel right for you, maybe things can change. And even if they don't change, you can feel, you can be at peace, you know.
It can become clear. So
Yeah.
let's imagine that you at some point say to her, I feel I really would love to give you a hug, but I'm also feel anxious about telling you that because I know we don't do that in this family. Now you might find that she says, okay, we won't go there now. Let's not do it. Or she might say, you know what? All my life I've felt the same as you, and I really wish we would have done that. You never know. You've got no idea how
Never
she's
know.
going to respond.
Yeah.
I have a question. Uh, how how does she react? Do you see any reaction when you put your hand on her shoulder?
Yeah, I feel something, and she expressed gratitude for me being there.
Yeah, so she doesn't pull away. She doesn't reject your hand on her shoulder. She expresses something genuine and positive.
Yeah, it's the fear is not It's not I'm scared of her action. It's just something. It's uncomfortable here.
Yes, yes, yes. And of course, if it got to the point where it happened, the more it happened, the more familiar and the less uncomfortable it would be.
Yeah.
Most likely. Yeah. So you could break a whole generational transfer of not doing that yourself. You never know. You could change everything for everybody in the family just by being open and honest about wanting to hug her.
Mm.
And if she's not used to it, what you might find is the first time you hug her, you do it for only a short time and not too hard, very gently. And as you do it more, then you get to do a better embrace. Who knows? But see, you will be sensitive to that. You will be sensitive to how she reacts. And you being you, now you will also be sensitive to how you are reacting to that.
Yeah, is it also uncomfortable to you when you put your hand on her shoulder?
A little bit.
Oh,
Um,
Boy, it's a good thing we're not in
yeah.
the same room, Ramesh. I would be wanting to give you a hug and you would be feeling pretty uncomfortable, eh?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this way of small steps, just like taming a, a a shy animal,
Yes.
a small animal, just staying her just a little bit.
Yeah. Always slowly, slowly. Mm. Mm. I have a strong feeling that there is an adventure in front of you, Ramesh.
yeah, because non-duality is very practical. It's about really being fearless. And being fearless is meeting the challenge that appear day to day in life and and meeting them in the most sensitive way possible. It's not like there is no one here, so I can disconnect from everyone. No, there is no one here, so you can dive into every challenge that present to you. Intimacy, it's a big challenge. Often, there is a lot there. There is a lot in intimacy, in touch. You don't have to do, but I mean, there is a lot to explore. I had a huge realization when, with my child, I love to be with him, to really hug him, and having a very strong bond. We sleep together since he's born and everything. And often it come to me, oh my God, because I grew up without my dad, you know, and it's like, oh my God, there is so much missing. Not missing, you know, but there was so much opportunity to be near of my father, so to be near of someone that is there to me, you know, and just didn't happen. You know, so I have to kind of make a process about that, to be at peace with that. And I think we have a lot of opportunity in our day-to-day life to really open our hearts in whatever way makes sense, you know. And there is no small step toward that, because every step it's a challenge. Every step is a challenge. Yeah.
My earliest memories, and I think it's the only one, I guess. I was close to my dad. We were in a field. There's a gathering with other people, and I was as a child sleeping on his leg. And when he was speaking, the vibration of his voice through his body, and the sounds of the cockroaches and the frogs at the night, and it was so peaceful. I remember like I was vibrating with everything in this memory. When did the meeting start? An hour ago or 2 hours ago?
2 hours ago.
Yeah, before I came to the meeting, I was sleeping, and I had a dream that I was late an hour for the meeting. Like in the dream, I woke up at 9 instead of 8, and then I actually woke up and I found that it's 8, and I'm not too late. And turn out I'm already late 1 hour anyway.
Mm.
What you describe, this is the mind, belief of control. You know, The mind, it's really crazy. It really believe that it can control everything.
I don't understand how that's about control.
Because the way I'm perceiving it is like you thought that you were coming late. After you watch the time, you say, no, after you connect, and now you realize, I know I was late anyway. So whatever the mind thought in all of this process is kind of meaningless. You arrive, you are there, right?
And the way it happened, regardless of you feeling like you were late or not late or anything like that, the way it happened was beautiful. It was just perfect. It just we had some moments with Bianca that felt good here, and then you came along after that. It was perfect.
Is this also a dream?
Sorry?
Is this also a dream?
Is it also
A dream,
a dream?
like another dream.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the characteristics of a dream and you wrote them all down and you wrote 100 characteristics of a dream, and then you started to apply them to what we consider to be real life, you would find that they all exactly match, that there is no difference between a dream and this. So does that make this a dream? Does that make the others not a dream? I don't know. But
But you know,
it's
it's interesting because you know what you say, Vince, like people believe that this life is real because there is a sense of continuity, right? They say, but yesterday I went to sleep, today I woke up in the same bed and I'm the same body, I have the same thoughts somehow. So of course it is real. And the dream, there is nothing, or there is some kind of strange story, but there is some continuous story, right? It's kind of the proof, you know. But if you dream every night about a tiger and it's the same tiger, does the tiger exist somewhere?
Maybe.
Maybe. But the thing is, does this thing, whatever happened here, exist somewhere? Maybe also. The thing is, you cannot step back to analyze anything because the experience is in your face too much. You are constantly in experience. So there's no stepping back.
But if you're having a lucid dream, you would be stepping outside the dream and watching it happen. That's not my
Yeah.
experience. I haven't had a lucid dream experience, but I understand it.
Well,
to be that way.
I had some lucid dream, but you don't step out. You don't step out of your dream, and even if you dream, you are inside.
Okay.
You know, it's one mind. You are inside yourself.
Yes.
So there is not really stepping out, stepping in. And even if you have a lucid dream and you can control everything, it doesn't change that it's a dream. So whatever you do in a lucid dream has no more effect than if you identify within the dream. And I think the message is it this is dreaming.
Mm. So
And
what's the difference? Why is this not dreaming? The so-called reality. Why is it not dreaming? All those things still apply, don't they? That you applied to the dream. So when you step outside of what's going on now, you're still in the mind. You're still in the dream.
you don't step out of anything.
No,
You
you
can't
can't.
step out.
No, agreed. You can't.
Step out, it's kind of a metaphor.
Mm. So I still don't see any difference between this and a dream. There are certain characteristics, yes, like the dream appears to get interrupted when you wake up.
Yeah, but this dream, this event get interrupted when you go to sleep.
Yes,
So it's the same.
exactly.
So really, we have
So-
no way to know which one is more real than the other, because
Exactly.
there is only one thing happening. Or David is here having this human gravity things, or there is something else happening. But when one is in place, I cannot think about the other.
Hmm.
So there's only one thing here constantly.
So we can say, okay, we know we've been dreaming when we wake up. But I once, as a kid, I don't know how old I was, I had an experience where my mother woke me up to go to school, and every morning I had trouble getting out of bed, but she woke me up after yelling at me several times, and I got out of bed and I dragged myself out of bed because I didn't have enough sleep. And I got dressed. What an effort it was to get dressed. And I was just heading out the bedroom door to go to breakfast when I woke up. And then, bugger, I had to do it all over again. Same thing. It was just as much effort in my dream as it was in real life to drag myself out of bed and get dressed. But I had a dream that was so real that I thought it was reality. And then I woke up.
Mhm.
Now, when I say I woke up in 2011, that's much more a metaphor for waking up, right? So it is also metaphorically accurate to say that I recognize that I was dreaming before then. Before I woke up, I had a lot of dream characteristics, like certain things were real when in fact they weren't. So a lot of what I took to be real before I woke up were just like dream characteristics. So in a way, yes, I could say that then I woke up out of that dream. But am I now in another dream? I think probably so. I don't know until I wake up out of it.
I think it's tricky because the word reality, I think we misuse the word reality.
Yeah. Mm.
Reality, you cannot know reality, what it is, but I think it's more what is actual.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
What is actual, it's a production of the mind, whatever the mind is. You don't know either, but it's just word. But experience is a production of the mind, and it always feel real. If you take acid, you will see angels, and they will feel real to you.
Mm.
And just like right now, you feel like real people, but have no. Maybe all of this is AI, EI, and some crazy people want to manipulate me into some spirituality, so I don't look about politics, who knows? So, but it feel real, and this body feel real, and everything feel real. But so this were real. We don't. I think we misuse it.
Mm. And when you're in a
Because-
dream, that feels real.
Exactly, but it is reality.
Mm.
This is the thing.
Yes.
It is reality presenting itself in a certain way in the moment. And when you woke up, it's a memory that is spontaneously appearing in the moment, but you have no way to know that was your actual dream.
Mm. That's
So
right.
you just can't move. You're always in the square, of you of
Mm.
of 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 the expression of the experience. And there is people who have, they pretend to have kind of a very expanding experience that's very different, and some other who say that they feel very traumatized and whatever. But I don't think that this is the point in this message.
Mm.
The point that, like, even if you are in a blissful state, what is important, like, it's an appearance.
Mm.
I was wondering because I just remembered I used to have not always the same dream, but it was always placed in the same fictitious part of Berlin let's say I dreamt I was walking through the city, and then some part of it is like the actual Berlin, but then there is a bridge, and behind that bridge there is like a fantasy part of the city. But whenever I had this dream, it was like, I'm back at here and I know everything perfectly, and it will always be the same, and it will be like coming home or something like that. And yeah, it was really super real, and also because of this coming back feeling, you know, like, yeah, okay, there is this marketplace and yeah, other architectonic elements and stuff. Do you,
Familiarity. Yeah.
do you know this? Do you have this kind of dreams?
Right.
No, my dream are changing. But you see, if you always have the same dream, and let's say the character in your dream is called Bob, right? In your dream always about Bob and always about those place, and this place feel home. At some point, how do you know that Leonard it's a dream of Bob? Why it is affirmation that Leonard is more real than the dream character Bob? It's an assumption. What is real is what's happening. It feels real, right? This is it's very interesting. But this is the same with imagination. I know that often we refuge into imagination because it feels comfortable, because we know, you know, we kind of build a whole theater inside of our mind with imagination, and we feel safe there.
I love my dreams, especially when they
Yeah.
are nightmares. They are so interesting. I was searching, like organizing my old notes and dreams, and I was reading through all my dreams, and they're so amazing. Like how I dreamed that, like how my mind come up with these things, and I gathered them and wrote them into ChatGPT, and it's like analyze this in the lens of Jungian psychology, like find the motives and themes about these dreams, and it's so like uh, like I found a treasure or something. Something about the dreams also. Sometimes I dream a lot about like a past period of time. I dream like we are in our old home, and in the dream there won't be any memory of what's happening now, currently in this timeline. It's like if this timeline doesn't even exist.
Mm.
I find that interesting. Like I traveled back. This doesn't exist.
You know, Ramiz, when some people who came to me, and there is this fear of death, you know, but every night we die. The character completely disappear every night, but no one is afraid to go to sleep.
We're confident that we can reincarnate in the morning.
But everything disappear, and then the dreams seem, like you said, like more real than real, and there are characteristics and specifics, and there is a lot of things happening. I'm really amazed about the virtual AI, but also the AI melting with virtual reality, you know,
Augmented
because
reality.
yeah, sorry, augmented reality, because at some point, you know, we will have no way to differentiate between what we consider reality and what we consider virtual reality, and maybe there is some revelation there. Who knows?
I
No,
had
but I'm
had
just
this thought really recently, actually, that we don't need augmented reality goggles because the mind does a brilliant job of augmenting reality.
yeah. This is already the highest expression of, of virtual of hallucination.
Mm.
There's no better than this that's happening right now. You know, you know, in some video games like GTA, you play a character, you know, that is in a big city, right? And you play, and this character can enter into a shop and play a video game. So you are playing a video game, and the character is into the game, is playing another game, you know. And that's, I think this is not far off what's happening, you know.
Mm. Mm.
They just this obsession to reproduce what's already happening.
Is it possible for AI to produce this kind of reflective consciousness?
It will.
Because the AI is just,
Ramis.
I know it's a silly question, but I
No,
was
Ramis.
curious about how because the mind is just is function as the same like prediction machine of words, like the conceptual mind, and it's like um, and I was wondering about the connection between the conceptual and the actual. Like we are connected to body, the conceptual is connected to the body, but the AI is not connected. Is connected maybe to the servers, but I don't know how.
Yeah, we have to think
I
of it
don't know.
in new terms, don't we? Yeah. So there may not be a wired connection. There may not even be a Wi-Fi connection between us and AI, but there is a connection if we respond to it. It's I get very excited about the potential for AI to help with this stuff and how it can do that by learning about our habitual responses to things and pointing out those things to us. Now, I see a great future for AI in this stuff. I get very excited about that potential.
In what? In non-duality, you mean?
Yes, helping people to wake up. Mm.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's very interesting. It's the potential is mind blowing.
Mm. For example, I don't see, I have no inhibitions about saying that I can see AI can easily develop consciousness.
When you
I
say,
completely disagree. I completely disagree.
what do you mean by
Because
consciousness?
no, because this belief that
Becomes
AI can produce consciousness is based on the belief that the brain produces consciousness.
yes. Well, I'm not actually saying it like that.
A physical thing do not produce consciousness.
Well, your brain's a physical thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't produce consciousness.
Okay. So
But how do you know that?
if we define consciousness as being self-aware, then AI can do that.
No, I disagree. because what is AI? It's a processor. I mean, I guess Ramiz know more about that, but it's just 0 and 1, right? It's just a very small door that is 0 and 1.
Well, what
That's
makes you
open and
think you're
close,
not
open and
zero
close.
and ones?
I didn't say. I'm just explaining what AI is made of.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying, right? So you can build.
How different? How is it different from the mind?
I don't know, what do you mean by the mind?
When you say the mind doesn't create consciousness,
Not the brain.
the brain.
The brain doesn't create consciousness.
Is there such a
What
thing?
do you mean by
consciousness?
Hmm?
Sorry, Thomas.
What do you mean by consciousness?
Whatever that is aware is not a production of the brain.
So how do you know
How
that
about
it's aware?
Hmm?
How do you know that there is something that is aware?
And it's not a thing, but there is awareness. You cannot deny right now that there is an experiencing, and there is an awareness of it.
So if you say there is some kind of self-reflecting experience, is that what you're calling awareness?
No, I'm just saying there is experiencing, and there is an awareness of it, and they are not two different things. But
I don't know. Well, I don't quite. I mean, so there is experiencing, and then there is another experiencing that we might describe as being aware of the first experience, but it's still just experiencing.
yeah, well, it's the same thing. But when you use word, there must be the duality in it.
Yep.
Is the whole theme about subject and object. If I say there is a subject, you will say, yeah, but there is object. And you say there's object, yeah, but there is
This is
no
just
subject. But it's the same.
stuff.
It's the same. It's the same. It's just two words for the same activity.
Yeah, but so if we use the words to describe things rather than create things, if we describe our experience of experiencing something, we can't put that experiencing in a bottle. We can't, no surgeon can find it. It's something that, but it's definitely something that happens. And if you talk about experiencing something that you describe as being aware, what's that? How's that different to being experiencing something of pain or pleasure or anything? It's no different. It's just another experience, one you call aware. But then you reify it if you say it's awareness. That's putting it up on some pedestal that it doesn't deserve. It's just another experience.
Well, I agree with you, but I don't see why you get stuck with awareness.
Yeah, I guess my pet thing is about people getting people identifying with awareness. That's what it's about, I guess.
Yeah, but
awareness and consciousness. We talk about consciousness before,
consciousness. So, consciousness.
Again, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's just another experience of a reflection, isn't it? If we are conscious, we're reflecting.
It's like dreaming. It's like dreaming. When you dream, everything it's mindness. It's
everything is mind.
One thing. There is no the dreamer is the dreamed.
Yes.
Everything is one. But to talk about it, you will say, I had a dream. But there are no there is no two different thing or two different activity. There are two expression of the same activity. That's what I'm so what I'm saying is there is an awareness of experiencing, but that doesn't mean that there is an experience and awareness out there, but that's how it presents itself. Like right now, it appears that I have since there is sensations, whatever that is, and I feel that I'm somewhere here and experiencing it, but that's not how what it happened. That's how we can speak about it.
Okay,
So
so
that's just
so if we take let's think of something, a tuning fork. Let's put a tuning fork stick it into a hole in the table so it sticks up, and then we hit the tuning fork with something, and it starts to vibrate and make a sound. Could you say that that tuning fork is experiencing vibrating? It seems a bit odd because we're talking about what appears to be something not human. But you would be accurate if you said that you described what happens as the tuning fork experiencing a vibration. It's just a description. Stupid one, maybe, but still it's a description. You can't really refute it, can you? It is, the tuning fork is vibrating. So although we can say we're not talking about people and therefore it sounds weird, we can say that the experience of the tuning fork is to feel vibration. Just a description. So do we have to be alive to be experiencing something? Do we have to be human to experience something? And what is consciousness but an experience of self? Experience of what's happening. I don't know. I might be really
what is
Tell me if-
what is the connection between that and EI? I don't
Well,
see the
I'm
connection.
just getting to the point where the idea of being self-reflective is to respond to a story. And if you've got AI is a program, then you can program it to respond to its own experience. Right? That's a gate, isn't it? It's a if and gate. I say, okay, if this happens, then that will happen. Right? If we have a positive voltage here, then the gate will open and allow something to flow. It's if then.
So what?
So what? So it's the same whether it's a program or a person. It's if then. If I experience something, then I will respond in this way. And that happens for a program too. If it experiences certain parameters, it will respond in a certain way. No different to people.
Yeah, but there is no people.
Okay.
And what is aware is not a person.
Mm.
The person is not aware. Because this is the logic that the brain is awareness, but the brain doesn't produce consciousness.
Mm.
The brain can produce an illusion. Does AI can produce the same illusion? I have no idea. It's very strange to me because it works with 0 and 1, like I was trying to explain, right?
But you do too.
Processor
You work with 0 and 1 the same way. But your 0 and 1s aren't written down, but you still have exactly that. All of your neurons are either firing or not firing. They're 0s and 1s.
I'm not a scientific,
Yeah.
but
Bianka
my
might
belief
help us here.
is that brain is a little bit more complicated than 0 and 1. But
Well, it's not really.
Fundamentally, it's irrelevant. But
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
but I think AI is very practical, but to my belief, it's absolute abomination.
Okay. Well,
Because
people are an abomination
no.
sometimes.
Yes, because it's absolute. How you say it? It's a tentative to reproduce consciousness, but it's just an imitation. It maybe it can reproduce perfectly. You feel that you talk with someone, but there is no one there. There is no consciousness there. So to me, it's a summum of ignorance. That's That's my, it's very useful, but that's my take on it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
It's an interesting area, isn't it? It's a quite exciting area, I find. That yeah.
but I mean, the,
How
this is
the
really, this is, sorry, tell me, Ramin.
when you say the person isn't aware, isn't awareness or whatever,
Hmm?
so then you are saying that the mind is an experience of identity in this awareness, right?
Yes.
So I'm saying this manufacture of awareness of being a self.
Yes.
I'm saying that there's nothing inherently we don't know how that functions. Like in the mind doesn't know how the brain is related to the mind. We don't know that. It's just thoughts are stuck together to give some narrative. And I'm saying that the same mechanism of the narrative thinking is the same as the AI. So I'm not talking about awareness or whatever. I'm speaking about the fact that there is a self-referential mechanism of I'm being a person, I'm being an identity, and the AI can manufacture that the same thing. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I
but
am
you
aware.
see, yeah, but your claim is that the brain produces thought. But
No, that's not my claim.
So I didn't really understand.
It doesn't really matter. Like the AI doesn't have a brain. The structure of whatever makes this phenomena of mind arise, we don't know how it functions. Like we don't know even how AI functions or people how functions. Like we don't know.
Yeah.
All we know that there is an experience of identity happening in this conceptual mind that the AI is trained on.
Mm. So it gets interesting. You think about this, put AI into a robot, right? And that robot, let's say it's one of those Boston, whatever their name is, that they make that robot dog and things. Yeah, that robot dog, I've seen them try and push it over with their foot, and it's very stable. You know, it doesn't fall over. It rights itself. It fixes itself from when it's pushed by a foot. How does it know to do that? It's programmed, isn't it? It's programmed that if it loses balance, it needs to regain balance. If it walks into a wall, it learns that it can't do that. So it learns eventually that it can walk, that there is a doorway in the wall that it can walk through if it wants to go somewhere. It learns these things. Now, when it learns these things, is that the same as what a human does? So in the early days, it had to be programmed to look for a hole in the wall to walk through. But with AI, it's simply shown that if you walk into the wall, you can't get anywhere. But if you walk through where there's no wall, you can get somewhere. And it learns, just like people do.
My point also is that if you are saying that AI can't become having the same experience of a person, then you are inferring that people are somehow special. There's something special about being human. And what is that?
Mm. Okay, so this is a big one. Is there anything special? Is a person worth more than a dog shit on the path? Is there a difference in value? That's an extreme example, of course.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask something. Maybe it's just another bullshit story, but yeah, I mean, we could say like everything comes from the same source, more or less. I mean, it's just a combination of I don't know, atoms, molecules, and so on. And actually, I would say human beings are nothing else than, for example, a stone or a tree or something like that. But yeah, we have like this, I don't know how to call it, consciousness, awareness, or this like split of subject object.
Hey, how do we know that stone hasn't also got that?
Yeah, we don't know, but I think when, for example, we have this subject object split that makes us able to experience, but then I would say like that what is experiencing itself because we are part of it, you know. I mean, so maybe it's
The
just
thing
like,
is, there is no matter. There is no matter to be. There is nothing solid. No one has ever experienced matter, and now you are speaking about some matter who have some thoughts, who can do some things. You can't even prove that the chair where you are sitting on it's hard or whatever. You cannot prove its existence. And now you are telling me that there is object out there that can produce thoughts, and they can maybe be conscious, and maybe consciousness is connected to the object through it. You can see all the. Show me an object. That's why I think it's a complete nonsense to I and consciousness.
That does go in the reverse, though, right back to humans, you know, show me a person.
It's like you are dreaming, and there is someone in your dream who is convinced that it can produce something in the dream that can be bigger than that is dreaming. I mean, it just makes no sense to me.
No,
To me, it just makes no sense.
doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
It just, I mean, I don't understand what the point of.
So let's say there is a rock out there that has consciousness. We just simply don't know it, whether it does or not. But let's say there is a rock out there that has
Yeah,
consciousness.
but you see, Vince, why going there?
Well, just this is my point, and that is, if that were the case, I would rather imagine that rock would see itself as special, and all rocks are special. And I would say that that's exactly what happens with humans. We think we're special because it's we that's thinking it, not because we are special in any way. It's only because we think we are, because it's us who are thinking it. And if rocks were conscious, they would think they are special. And if dog shit was special, it would think it's special, you know? It doesn't make any difference. It's just a natural happening. Who's doing the thinking is going to think it's special.
I'm a bit confused about your view, David. How that isn't like
Sorry.
solipsism? How is that different from solipsism?
What is solipsism?
Like seeing that there is nothing outside, there is no persons, there's no objects, there's just one awareness of being alone in the world.
I mean, as far as you are concerned, the only thing that you're in contact with is your experience. It's your direct experience, right? You have no access to anything else. Do you agree with that?
Okay.
No, it's not an okay.
Maybe,
Like, do you agree or you don't agree? I mean, are you in contact with something else than your own than your direct experience?
But also, I'm not coming to the conclusion that there's nothing out there.
I'm just asking a question, and you don't want to say yes.
Yes, I have only my experience.
Okay, so what how do you know that there is something out there? What proof do you have? How?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm not concluding that there is or there isn't. And depends on the situation. Like if I'm talking to you, I'm presuming that there is someone there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't see how it functions.
Yeah.
could
Well,
be,
I mean,
you could be talking to an AI bot.
no,
Maybe.
what I want to say that I mean I think it's healthy to have a relationship with animal and person as if they are conscious and they have emotions and sensitivity. I think it's a healthy way to live.
Yeah.
But you have
It's what happens.
yes, but my point is, what proof do you have that there is physical object out there?
That doesn't seem like an important question. I don't care.
You don't care if there's physical object out there?
It's like out there from what? It's
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you are connected with you do experience and you seem to disagree. But when I ask you there is something out there, you say no, everything is here. So you are saying exactly what I'm saying. So I don't understand
Oh no, I did
where
see.
is the
I did see.
confusion.
I saw a difference, and I heard Ramiz saying, "I don't know what's out there. I don't come to the conclusion that there is nothing. I simply know that I don't know what's out there." And you're saying you come to a conclusion that there is nothing out there. So you have a conclusion different to his. That's all I see.
I say there is nothing in the context that there is no matter. There is not a thing. There is no things.
So
There is no
conceptual
things.
things
There is
or
no things. No, this is a thing, right? But when you the only experience I have of this glass, I don't know how you call it in English, right?
cup. Mm.
Of this cup is a sensation and a perception of it and a conceptual layer. Both of those three happen in my experience.
also saying that it
So
is material or not material is also an overlay. Like I could say that this all is material, all non-material. It's pointing to the same thing with different label.
that's exactly why
For example, in
right
the
now you are saying it points to the same thing. And that's what in this context I'm saying. The thing that is pointing toward is not there. I don't know what is out there, obviously.
Now you're saying the same thing. Yeah.
I say there is nothing in the context of AI being an object producing things. In this context, I can change if it's to I can say I don't know if there is something out there.
Okay.
So no one knows there's something out there. But
So
the thing is, no one has ever experienced matter, a solid thing. No one, not even scientific, find this hard building block of the universe. It has never been found. Not in experience, not even in conceptual thinking. It's not in scientific. There is no hard things to be found. That's all I'm saying.
would you say that there is life happening?
Well, it's difficult because after you have to define life, like Vince was saying, those are rockets alive, those are amoeba, it's alive. When does a fetus become alive? Does a cell it's alive? Where do
No,
you
I
draw the
don't.
boundaries? So it's just there is an experience right there. There's an experience shining force.
I don't mean specifically organic life. I mean like things happening.
Yeah, there's an experience. That's what I'm saying. The only fact we have is right now, I'm having an experience.
So that's my point, that this experience can be called matter or non-matter. It doesn't matter really what we call it.
That's
So
good.
you say that
Yeah.
it's not matter, but I'm telling you that it could be. We don't know.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, we can be living on the back of a turtle or inside a well, or we can just be, you know, yeah, everything is possible. I agree with you. So everyone is right. The flat is the earth is flat, right? Because it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. You're right. This is one, but this sounds more like solid seems to me.
The only thing that matters to me is that that there is no stepping out.
There is no
Like David
stepping
said,
out.
no stepping out of the dream, no stepping out outside the mirrors.
I can easily accept that that is the case for you, but I don't accept that that is the case, full stop. I do experience both myself and other people stepping out of the dream.
But I hear many awakened saying there is no escape from this.
Yeah, but this can be different, can't it? So there's
Different
no
from what?
sorry.
Different from what?
If we line up 5 people in front of anything, every one of them will have a different experience of that, what it is that's in front of them. That'll be always unique. So in that case, it's easy to compare one person to the person next to them as having a different experience. But what I was pointing to was my experience and that of others I have interpreted, my witness has interpreted with them, is that the difference is from what was to what is. So this used to have a certain reaction and now it has a different reaction.
But there is always experience and always reaction.
Mm.
There is no stepping out of experience.
True. You can't not experience. I get that now. Yeah, I didn't hear you say that before. Okay. I guess we're talking about a reaction to an apparent set of circumstances that used to be unpleasant and is now pleasant, or used to be unpleasant and is now not unpleasant, or different, just different, that's enough. And that happens all the time. Although you talk like there is no escape or no change or no stepping out of it possible. Yeah. I get that is the way for you at the moment. And I would really hope to be around to witness that change. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. We don't know what will happen. But I do know from my experience that something as little as one sentence can be enough to change that for you. I've seen that. I've witnessed that happen, both with myself and other people. How it works, I have no idea, but it can happen. And sometimes when we talk about stepping out, we might really be talking about not stepping out at all, but rather staying in, but perceiving it from a different perspective. I mean, I guess you could call that stepping out in a way, but so maybe we're not trying to change what we see, but rather what it means. You know, a dog that's brought up from a puppy to be in a training cage, when it's an adult, will most likely feel more secure and happier in that cage than outside of it under certain circumstances. And yet somebody who doesn't know the fact that the dog's been brought up in the cage would look at it and say, look at the poor thing in a cage. That must be really horrible for it. And yet the reality is that it's feeling very secure and comfortable and safe because of that. So it's like we have no idea how people are going to see things. I always laughed at the idea in jail of solitary confinement being a punishment. I thought, wow, if I was in jail, I'd much rather be in solitary confinement than anywhere else. I'd love it. It would feel good to me. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I imagine. Mm. I mean, others might think we've just had a big philosophical discussion this afternoon, but I don't see it that way. I don't actually see any of our discussions. Sometimes we do get a bit philosophical, but essentially I see it as relating to us and our experience. And I see that as value in that. Yeah.
I think it's important because the way you frame, the way you frame belief and your interpretation of what's happening can make a huge difference in your experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you believe that the earth is flat, you will be more limited that you believe something else. And kind of the same with the discussion, it opens to think, it opens to new possibilities and exploration. But maybe
Well,
now you
for
can just
me,
ask AI, and it will show, AI will show you the way.
for me, nowadays I like the most Bernardo Kastrup, if you know the philosopher.
Yeah, he's good.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's very clear and convincing.
Okay, well, it's time for me to go and cook fish for tea.
Okay. Okay, so enjoy your afternoon or your day or whatever time you are on.
Enjoy everything, yes.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.